The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
If you really want to doge, this is how you doge. You don't vote for bad legislation that expands government. Thank you.
Now we're talking about taxpayer money, and we're talking about accountability. It is their money. This isn't a government program we're actually spending on. We're actually giving it back to the people of Idaho.
There's other options for making our ballots more secure, such as using watermarks or putting holograms on the ballots.
And I think that that's what we need to look at more, is trying to get back to what we used to be, where our churches and our families took care of each other instead of relying on the state.
I asked the question rhetorically, if we gave them another $1 billion, they wouldn't be happy. Well, we've given them $2 more billion, and it's not enough.
We need to start making Idaho first. We need to start making America first.
The other states like Texas and Florida have enacted similar laws to address illegal immigration, both locally and in their communities. And Idaho has the right to protect itself when the federal government has failed to do that.
COVID presented us with quite the enigma. We didn't really know what it was or what to do, but that is no excuse to violate the rights of the citizens of the state of Idaho.
Say vote no on this and let the teachers teach and quit bringing in coaches to teach the teachers to teach, and let's get education going again in Idaho.
I don't know what's coming after this current administration for the feds, and we need this law because our federal laws on immigration have failed.
Mr. President, I think it's incumbent upon us to allow parents to use their hard-earned dollars to provide what's best for their children.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
My concern is that the resilience of Idahoans who believe in self-reliance and self-responsibility will be eroded.
We need to be protecting our First Amendment rights, not inventing ways to slowly chip away at them.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Yeah, watch it.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Monday, March 9, 2026. Idaho Signal is back on the air. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Matt Edwards, and I am thrilled that you are here with us for another week. We've got a special, we've got a lot of stuff to cover today again, because we're in the midst of just trying to gather exactly, get the chess game is afoot, my friends. The game is afoot. And so we're looking at the board here when it comes to a bunch of these immigration bills. This is one of the biggest issues in the country right now, within our country. Obviously, the world has its own big issues that's going on. It's covering that tackling the news and taking over the news. But within our own country, within our own state even, the immigration issue, the ramifications of immigration, illegal immigration, the last 4 years, the last 10 years, the last 25 years of illegal immigration in this country is taking its toll on Idahoans. It's taking its toll on you and me. And just as we saw after the pandemic, when guys and gals stood up and said, I'm going to run for office, I'm going to get involved, I'm going to pay attention, I'm going to watch bills, I'm going to attend city council meetings, I'm going to go to school board meetings, I'm going to get involved, I'm going to spend money, I'm going to start a PAC, I'm going to start an organization, all sorts of things that came out of the pandemic. We are now seeing the ramifications of the 4 years of the huge influx of illegal immigrants to this country, and the amount of people that are starting to get involved. We introduced you to William Mostoller last week when he hit his breaking point. I want to show you a clip real quick of what that looked like. This is Representative Steve Miller out of Twin Falls, who was arguing against these E-Verify bills and imploring the federal government to do something from the top. Folks, as much as you want to give them credit, the agricultural industry, all of the folks at the hospitality industry, everybody who is advocating for, oh, we want the feds to take care of this. This is a federal issue. Illegal immigration is a federal issue. They haven't done enough. Well, that we've heard that for the last 25 years. We've heard that for the last 40 years. I mean, it was 1986 when the big Immigration Reform Act happened, and we're sitting here with the same problems today. And when you got a guy like Representative Steve Miller who stands up and basically says, let's just do what Reagan did in 1986 and push this can down the road. Watch this clip, and then we'll watch Mr. William Mostoller respond to it.
President Reagan took a step in that direction many years ago when he set up a system where if one employed this kind of a person and was willing to sponsor him, they had a mechanism where they could bring him in, talk about it. If they hadn't violated the law and met a certain number of standards, then they could get a work visa. And that's where we need to be with this. We need to be practical about it. We need to figure out how this population that's law-abiding and working and supporting our economy can get some form of visa or whatever it might be to work, not to become citizens, but just simply to be able to work. So I would ask the body to consider that and to oppose this till we get a better alternative.
So you see here is his comment saying that he will not I just lost my train of thought. They will not become citizens. We still want them here, but they won't become citizens. We will just make them basically non-citizen citizens, which is atrocious. It's absolutely atrocious. We also have the lobbyman, Stephen Martinez, who lobbies for the construction industry, lay out these apparent revelations that they're admitting openly and outright. Watch this, followed by Mostoller's reaction.
At every level. One of the components to affordability is the labor input that we put into the homes. About a third of our workforce is foreign-born. Now, foreign-born could be here legally, illegally, temporarily. It could be, anybody that's here that was not obviously born of this country. And so when I talk about
William, he just said right there, a third are foreign-born, which is can be made up of folks who are here illegally. I mean, they're just coming right out and saying it. What is that about?
Yeah, they just have no fear. They have no fear because they have too many representatives in the state capitol that they know are going to take the side of, again, the graph go up kind of people. They don't care about American culture. They don't care about what the future looks like for our children. Because let's face it, not every child is going to go to college and become a lawyer, right? There are many people who need to actually get real jobs. And I'll tell you, I've worked in the trades most of my life, since 14 years old, starting out doing foundations in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And the money is way better in that job than people think. And it's a very rewarding job to work with your hands and to work with people and everything. I mean, you've probably been on a construction site. You go in there, usually there's music playing, guys are joking. It's actually a pretty damn good time compared to sitting in an office and having to watch your P's and Q's. But when he says 1/3, I'm sorry, but that's not true. I would say it's half or more are illegal or some sort of immigrant working in this industry, at least in the Magic Valley. The change here over the last 2 years especially is mind-boggling. This is nothing like the place I grew up in.
It's folks. I mean, I'm telling you, this guy. This is the ramification. This is what's happening. 4 years ago, we had folks stepping up to the plate because of the pandemic. Then you had, but during that time, you had unfettered access at our borders. You had millions of people. You saw the footage. Millions of people coming up through Central America, riding the tops of trains. Okay, making their way to the border. And it is now having a huge effect, especially in that gentleman's city in Twin Falls, right? And it's not just about the jobs. He points out it's about the culture, the future of our children. Not everybody is going to grow up to be a lawyer or a doctor. And these jobs are well-paying jobs, and they're rewarding. These are all the things that he says that are absolutely right. And because of this, you are now seeing guys like him stand up. A decorated injured Marine with 6 kids who's been working in the trades all his life, born in Coeur d'Alene, now lives in, or raised in Coeur d'Alene and now lives in Twin Falls. Right? This is it, folks. You guys are stepping up, and I commend you folks like this. All right, I have another clip here I want to show you just to remind you where we're at right now, because these folks are they're talking out of both sides of their mouths, right? On one hand, they say we don't hire illegal aliens, we don't hire illegals, we pay for the process. We have to go through the H2A system. We have to pay for their travel. We have to pay for their lodging. We have to pay for all of these things. It costs so much money to hire these people because no one else wants to do these jobs. And it costs us tons of money to do this. Yet when we say, okay, well, how about we just crack down on the folks that are doing it illegally? Oh, you can't do that. You can't harm that. The whole industry will fall. Well, which is it? Which is it? You got Stephanie Mickelson saying there isn't one person here that hasn't been touched by an illegal immigrant. Well, thank you very much. Here's Representative Kyle Harris questioning the current dairyman lobbyist.
Harris. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Narabout. So while we're sitting in limbo waiting for the federal government to act, and arguably this bill doesn't have anything to do with immigration, it just has to do with enforcing laws in this country that we have that prevent you from hiring illegal immigrants. So while we're waiting in limbo for the federal government to do something, are we supposed to continue to allow people like the dairy industry to just flagrantly break the law? Mr. Narabout.
Chairman Wheeler, Representative Harris. First, I'd like to correct the record that our dairymen do not flagrantly break the law. We complete I-9 forms just like every other employer, and we don't believe it should be on the employer to verify legal status of an individual in country. That should fall on the government, not an employer. Secondly, I would point towards in the transcript of the interview I referred to with President Trump, he was bluntly asked the question, do you feel like ag workers and those in critical industries should remain in country, and have you asked your agencies to limit their enforcement? And he bluntly answered, yes, I have. So I would suggest we follow President Trump's lead, allow him the space to work on this, and allow there to be a federal fix come forward.
Follow up. Representative Harris. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So does the dairy, ag, any construction industry across the state in Idaho, but speaking to dairy specifically because that's who you represent, do they knowingly employ illegal immigrants in the state of Idaho? Mr. Narabout.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Harris, no, we do not knowingly hire undocumented or unauthorized individuals in the state.
The chuckle. Oh, the chuckle. The Harris chuckle. I mean, it is a joke. It is an absolute joke. These people. So this is the fight we're in, folks. This is the fight we're in. And at the tip of the spear is Secure Idaho. It's Michael Angeletta and his team. Michael joins me now. Michael, good Monday to you. Boy, what a week it ended on, and the weekend was even filled with even more surprising news as you know, text messages and emails and phone calls went out back and forth. And so now here we are. It's Monday. The fight isn't over. We're still trying to figure out where the chess pieces are, and we thought we needed to have you on to kind of set the stage a little bit, get a bit of a recap, so that way we can activate folks and send them in the directions that we feel will be the most effective, because what we are watching and witnessing here is incredible. The amount of double talk, the amount of double speak, the amount of people falling over their words, trying to defend the indefensible. Michael, where were we at?
We're beaten, but not down. If I could draw your attention, and maybe this is something you could put up on the screen, I can walk us through where our immigration reform bills stand currently and what the latest action is there. So if we go to Idaho Immigration Watch's bill tracker, we're going to be able to see the status of those bills. And in summary, we've got about 8 bills we support. There's one that's neutral, and then there's one we oppose. And the one we oppose, we call the Fake E-Verify bill. So for the 8 that we support, the meaningful immigration reform, 5 are close to dead. 3 of those are lacking a hearing in Senate State Affairs, which is, of course, chaired by Senator Guthrie. And we're still fighting for getting a hearing. I've been told that Guthrie intends not to give them a hearing. However, I can tell you that reports back from the Capitol are that Guthrie, Senator Anthon, Senate State Affairs have been absolutely flooded with not just emails, but phone calls from sincere and, quite frankly, outraged citizens who are insisting that at the very least, these bills deserve a hearing.
Good.
Just a hearing so we can have a public and transparent debate about the issue. But we know that when we shine light on these issues, that there's such a shining, blazing truth about what's going on right now, that if that sees the light of day in a debate, the opposition who wants the status quo will lose. And that's why they will not even give it a hearing right now. There are other bills, if we look at the tracker, and I'll look at it with you here, that still have life, right? So 5 look like they're on their last gasp right now because they're not getting the hearings. 2 didn't make it out of House committee. And now we still have, I would say, 3 remaining. One is 287G. And what this does is it asks the sheriff departments and law enforcement to cooperate through a memo of agreement with ICE. And there's multiple different models in which they can do that, from light to very involved. And if those law enforcement agencies do not want to do that, they can opt out. And all they have to do is tell the public, here's why we're opting out. But we're getting a lot of institutional opposition to even that bill. So that's H659. You can see that right near the second from the bottom of that list. And the Sheriff's Association, the police chiefs both came out against that. We still saw that come out of the House floor with some strength. I think we got 42 votes or so for that. And so the question is, go ahead.
Yeah, and Michael, and when, just to clarify, you said those law enforcement representatives came out against it, but this bill, even though it would opt everybody in, you can opt out, right? You don't have to do this.
Yeah, and that's the point. Now,
so they don't want to be on record. They don't want to be on record as opting out of this.
It comes back to the transparency to the public thing, you see, right? Because it won't look good. You know, the voters in different counties are going to ask their sheriff, or in municipalities, they're going to ask the police chief, you know, why are you opting out? And they don't want to have to explain themselves to the public. That is exactly what is going on here. And it's worth noting that all of Florida institutes this just fine. Okay. And Florida doesn't even have an opt out. So the question is, what makes Idaho so different? We haven't gotten an answer on that yet, by the way. So that's H659. So it's green because it passed the House floor and now it's heading to the troublesome waters of the Senate. And the question is, what committee will it land in? And that usually gives us an idea of what its destiny may be. So stay tuned on 659. And we have 2 more that are still alive in the House. I should say. One is they're both related to auditing. You remember last time we talked, there's 2 buckets of bills. There's the auditing. Let's see what we're working with. What's the size and scope of the problem? And then we can make some intelligent and informed and empirical decisions. And then the second bucket is enforcement. So enforcement isn't looking too hot right now. Those are all the red X's. We're in big trouble there. The auditing still has a little bit of life with looking at our medical system, emergency care, to see what is the impact of illegal aliens on that system and what's the cost to the taxpayers and the public agencies rendering those services. And then the other is simply looking at, well, what is the immigration status of those that are currently arrested in Idaho? Is it a small problem? Is it a big problem? We're getting institutional resistance there too, I might add, by the way. So all along the board, and I feel your anger, and I think the wise choice is you can choose to be resigned or apathetic, or capture that anger, and that's what I'm doing. I think that's what you're doing, and channel it for effect. And so we still have some life here, and we're going to do everything in our power to get those remaining bills with life over the finish line. And we're not going to give up on those red X's. We're going to still ask the public, call, let your voice be heard. And I might add one last piece. There are primary elections. And I I'm trying to stay out of electoral politics, but I absolutely can't in this case. And here, Senator Guthrie, who is blocking hearings for the public to actually watch the debate, he has a primary challenger. And I encourage anybody in the public, go look at that race. And Matt, you might know what the district is. I don't have it in front of me, but everybody should take a look at it and maybe consider supporting his opponent so we can affect some real change.
Yeah, that would be District 28. His opponent is Idaho National Guard Major David Worley, stellar individual. And definitely go check out that race. And this is why we do this, and this is also why they shelve bills or they send them to places that makes it harder for someone to go on record as having voted for or against it. What I do find fascinating, though, is that there are some senators out there and who have published their personal opinion on why they oppose the bill, even before the bill has even gotten to them for a vote. And I want to shift a little bit here because I'm very curious on the argument. You've been having a public back and forth with a senator on X over there, which I would say is a very it's not coming from a defense of ag industry so much as it's coming from a more of a principled effect of how much power do we give to the federal government? How much do we acquiesce in our business to be the enforcers of law and that sort of thing? And so while I respect the senator's take on it, I simply push back as much as you have. What is behind this philosophy here of these sticking to this idea that just makes one seem so out of touch with what's going on in the world?
Yeah, and I guess for those of you who have a life and are on X relentlessly every day, there has been what I think is a good faith back and forth between myself and some other citizens, and I'll name them. It's okay. I'm not demonizing him. Senator Shippey, and Senator Shippey has come out. He wrote a Substack article opposing E-Verify. And the underlying foundation of his argument is one of what I would call principle and philosophy, which is we need to limit government wherever we can, and we should not put the onus of enforcement on the public citizen, because that means more work for them. It means more government intrusion. And I think there's a time and place where that is perfectly applicable. I think the challenge is we always have to manage the tension between liberty, for example, and even enforcement, right? So we voluntarily give up certain liberties to ensure that other liberties can be protected through enforcement. And labor compliance is a perfect example of that. As it stands today, the way you supposedly verify an employee, and we saw the Kyle Harris clip when he was grilling the dairyman lobbyist, they use I-9 paper forms. And those I-9 paper forms, we ask the employee, fill it out to the best of your knowledge. We assume you're telling the truth. It's essentially an honor system. And then we just put it in a drawer. It looks good. Okay, great. No verification at all. Now, that is in many ways maximum liberty for the employer and quite frankly, even the employee. But here's the challenge when the rubber hits the road and reality starts to clash with our perfect principles. We have a changed landscape. We have upwards of 60,000 illegals in Idaho. Might not sound like a lot, but I think we're talking 2 to 3% of the population. If you look at Utah across the border, that has more than doubled in the last few years. There's nothing saying why that can't happen to Idaho, by the way. And when you look at the landscape nationally as well, with mass migration, illegal labor, illegals everywhere, public subsidies being consumed, and the list goes on and on. The reality, the calculus changes a little bit, and we have to look at that balance point between perfect principles of liberty and enforcement. And we have to not be so rigid. We have to adjust and enter the realm of what works, i.e. pragmatism, i.e. practicality, what in the real world will actually work. And I'm sorry to ramble, but I'll give you one other example. If we were, let's assume we put our hats on and we're a perfectly left-leaning liberal, and we say, welcome all immigrants, legal and illegal alike. And then you ask that same left-leaning liberal, well, Surely you will welcome them into your home and give them bed and shelter and food. Well, no. We can't do that. This is a perfect example of where reality meets perfect principle. And so the debate with Shippey, whose argument rests on what I would call perfect principles, I think his argument fails. It fails when it hits reality. And reality is right now, when those I-9 paper forms are submitted to an employer, or let's say a corporate dairyman, I emphasize corporate, they're going to look the other way, and that illegal labor is going to continue to funnel through. What we proposed with HB 704, which looks like it's killed by Senator Guthrie without a hearing, is simply let's verify that those I-9 forms are accurate. That's all. And when you look at what that means for an employer like me, a small business owner who hates paperwork, hates bureaucracy, it requires a 10-minute enrollment. And then every time I make a new hire as a small business, it takes less than a minute. And then we get verification. And I don't think that's asking too much at this point. And I don't think the public thinks that that's asking too much as well. So I think that is the fundamental difference right now, is there is an, in my humble opinion, an innocent inability to recognize the changing landscape and to shift and move that balance of tension between liberty and enforcement. And that's where we're getting stuck with some of our conservative limited government senators. And I've talked to 3 of them, by the way, 3 of them. I'm not going to name the other 2. And they're all coming from that same place of perfect principles. And that just doesn't meet the needs of Idaho today in 2026. It fails.
Yeah, it's such a, and I understand it. You know, it can be it's a what is it? It's a tightrope to walk. You know, because we don't abandon our principles. We're not here to abandon our principles. But when you look at the landscape, I mean, the I-9 form process is 10 times more cumbersome than the E-Verify. So you're already acquiescing to the fact that we have to print out a form. Right? You print the form, you have them fill it out, you have them bring the documents, you go to the scanner, you scan them all in, you digitally, you spend time, you do that over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of employees. That's reams of paper that you're printing. I mean, the time and the money and the cost and all of that is already factored into something that you're already mandated to do. And here we are, a modern way to verify the information is correct. I mean, if you're not verifying it and someone's illegal, you're basically an unknown accessory to criminal activity. And what kind of society is that? What kind of principle says that we should make people be an unknowingly accessory to crime? I don't understand how that bucks up against principle. I don't.
And that's the key facet with E-Verify. It gives employers safe harbor, meaning when you use E-Verify as an employer, you're no longer liable. So if that employee decided to break the law and steal a social security number or fake identity, you as an employer are not liable anymore because you've used E-Verify. I think that's a very important point.
Yep.
So here we are.
Yeah. Well, we're about to let our audience know. I mean, look, we were part of the campaign to get, all those emails and reach out to the committee. And I feel like the time is necessary to amp it up a little bit. So we're going to say, let's direct our attention now to the leader of the Senate, Senator Kelly Anthem, the pro tem of the Senate. We have a graphic here and we have an email link, and it's email.citizensallianceidaho.org/Anthon. And when you send that email, it'll open up your email client, and it already says in there, and what we're asking him to do is to either reroute these bills to a different committee, or replace Guthrie as chairman and find somebody else who will step in and stop holding back bills that are passed by the House. It is so disrespectful to me, Michael, that these bills get passed by the House, they get debated, and then they get drawered. They don't even get a hearing. We just want to, like you said, we just want a hearing right now. Now it's just one man saying, no, I don't care what the House did. I'm drawing this. Like it's the hubris. It's so disrespectful. And we see it time and time and again. Now, do we see this happen with a lot of bills that come through that may not have that huge significance, sure. But we're talking about an issue, like you've mentioned before, it's like an 80-20 issue, and it's the issue of our time. It's the issue of 4 years ago, the issue of our time was dealing with the pandemic tyranny. And then we had 4 years of millions of people crossing the border. This is the issue of our time right now inside the country.
It is the issue of our time. And the reason why for our group, Secure Idaho, we chose this issue is the same reason why we chose to fight ranked choice voting, which is there's a public mandate. In the case of ranked choice voting, there's a public mandate to keep our electoral system as is because it works. And right now, currently, the public mandate, 70, some polls, 80+% of Americans and Idahoans want meaningful action on illegal immigration, and they're not getting it from Boise right now. They're not getting it. So we, as citizens, we have to build awareness. And the thing is, we're in Idaho. This isn't Washington, D.C. For many of us, we don't feel like we can really affect any change in D.C. The same exact dynamic applies to D.C., by the way. 90% of the policy advanced in D.C. doesn't reflect the will of the constituents. There's like plenty of academic literature on that. We're seeing the same aspect and dynamic apply right now in our own state, in our own backyard. And I think the difference is we can actually affect change here locally. We can actually make a difference, right? We can mobilize, we can find primary opponents, we can let our voice be heard. We can write legislative briefs. That's one of the things we've been doing. Does it move the needle a little bit by itself? Yeah. Is it enough by itself? Definitely not. That's why all of us have to kind of stay cohesive and collaborate. And even after this session, whatever happens, if they're all red X's or we get 1 or 2 greens out of 8, obviously that's not good enough. We have to play the long game as well. And I want to let your audience know we're here to play the long game. We're not going to be here in one session, then disappear. We're going to double and triple down on this issue.
Amen. Thank you, Michael. All right, everybody. IdahoImmigrationWatch.org. Send in your money. Send in your bookmark it to follow the bills and find any other calls to action. Where else can people follow you, Michael?
As usual, for those of you who have the spare time, come on over to X and watch the fun debates we're having with senators and other legislators. And you can find us at Secure Idaho on X. If you want the more volatile stuff, you can just follow me on X as well. But that's how you can stay appraised of daily progress and what's going on this important issue.
Excellent. All right, Mike, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Yeah. Okay, folks. Boy, what a tiresome thing, but you got to keep moving. See, they won't ever quit. They just want the status quo. The status quo, they just sit there and say, no. And it's up to you to push through. So folks, right before we go to break, we're going to go to a break, but here it is. That's the QR code. It'll open up your email. All you have to do is you can rewrite the email if you want, do whatever you want, but just, I encourage you, scan that QR code. Type in email.citizensallianceidaho.org/Anthon. Send the Senate leader, Kelly Anthon. Tell him, get these bills heard or remove Guthrie. That is what we need right now. We'll take a short break and we will be right back.
That's exactly what happened. You want to pull the tape? You can pull the tape because we now got video.
Idaho's Republican governor signed the bill to reduce her income tax rate, but Jim Guthrie voted against it. Our governor signed the Idaho Medical Freedom Act, but Jim Guthrie voted against it. Our governor signed the school choice bill, but Jim Guthrie voted against it. Our governor signed bills ending taxpayer-funded soda and junk food, removing DEI from our universities, and outlawing pride flags being flown on government property. And Senator Jim Guthrie voted against all of it. Who does Jim Guthrie really represent? Because it certainly isn't you.
Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho.
The dictionary defines a pledge as something that you give as a sign that you'll keep a promise. As Idahoans, that's what we're looking for in our elected leaders. A sign that they'll keep their word. Talk is cheap, and so are political promises, hidden agendas, and special interests. This is why we created the Citizens Alliance of Idaho Pledge, affirming the values Idahoans have been living by for over 100 years, inspired by the only 2 documents everyone has agreed to live by. So when an Idaho legislator signs our pledge, inviting voters to publicly hold them accountable. That's what we call political integrity. The pledge restores trust and honesty between voters and their legislators. It means protecting our shared values and ensuring your voice is heard in Boise. And that is priceless. Thank your legislator for having the political courage to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge. And if they haven't, it's time to ask why.
Jim Guthrie ad that we've been playing. That's playing all over his district, folks. I want you to know that. We've got that thing playing all over the district. It is playing. If you're watching, one of those streaming services, it's going to pop up there. If you're clicking on YouTube, it's going to pop up there. If you're playing Candy Crush, it'll probably pop up there. It's everywhere, folks. It's everywhere. So I hear. So I hear. Okay. I haven't been paying attention. Is Brian Allman around? Is Brian Allman in the house today? Where's Brian Allman? There he is.
I'm here.
You're here. Brian, it's been a fun weekend. It was I'm just like, I mean, I don't know if you saw the stuff earlier there with Michael, but I mean, it's the same song and dance. It's just sometimes the characters are a little bit different. Sometimes the dialogue is a little bit different, but here we are once again looking at the Senate State Affairs Committee, wondering how do we pound through this door?
Right. When I first started getting involved in Idaho politics, it was 6-7 years ago, and Senate State Affairs, I believe, was chaired at that time by Senator Patty Ann Lodge. Who she, of course, in 2022 endorsed the Democrat who was running against Raul Labrador for Attorney General. So that shows, where her loyalties lie. And she did that too. She bought good bill after good bill. And so when she retired, Senator Jim Guthrie comes in and takes over. And even through a change of leadership, remember the Senate pro tem at the time was Chuck Winder, who lost his primary in 2024, and Senator Kelly Anthon was elevated. And I have to say, I like a lot of what Senator Anthon has been doing. He's made sure that some good bills got through, like last year's mask mandate bill and several others. But it's just so frustrating to watch him and Guthrie do this little song and dance, like he said, where we take this bill that passed in House Juden Rules, or take this bill that passed in the House Business Committee or the House Local Government Committee, but it's all going to go to Senate State Affairs, where wink, wink. We'll see what happens. Well, we know what's going to happen. It's going to get thrown in the drawer because Senator Guthrie doesn't seem to care about giving an up or down vote on these things. He seems content with his role as the hatchet man to kill bills that pass the House with 40, 50, 60 votes without even a single vote in the Senate committee. And it's incredibly frustrating. And, I really hope that David Worley is able to win his race, because that would be perhaps the one biggest thing that would change the entire culture of this legislature, where, these good bills pass the House and then go over to die in the Senate.
Yes, and you're putting such beautiful points on that. We got to make sure we clip that entire thing out there and share that far and wide, Brian. Thank you for that, because the biggest thing that these people should know, that Senator Anthon should know, that Senator Guthrie should know, and everybody else in the Senate should know, is that you do this hard enough, we are coming after your seat. Chuck Winder is a perfect example. I mean, he was the leader of the Senate, and he got knocked out by a first-time challenger. It wasn't somebody who's been going after his seat. It was a first-time challenger, a young family man, former military, former Boise PD, went after his seat and knocked him out. That's Senator Josh Kaiser, because of these shenanigans. And now you have Senator Guthrie in there, and like we said, people are going after him hard. So don't think that people are immune to their to being defeated in their election. Like it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We are coming after your seat. It is going to happen. Get with the program. You thought we would get with the program. And when Chuck Winder lost his seat, there was, like you said, there was a new opportunity for new leadership in the Senate. But for some reason, there were many people behind the scenes that thought Senator Doug Okonowitz was going to get the pro tem seat, because there were enough conservatives. He had built up enough trust within the Senate that he was going to get that seat. And I was told that there were some people that promised that they would vote for Doug, and it ended up voting for Kelly Anthon. And now we have this bull BS going on, right? So don't mistake. Don't think we're naive out here. We don't know what's going on. We know exactly what's going on, and that's why we are fighting so hard. So let's put up that graphic once again. Senator Kelly Anthon, God bless you, nice man, really nice guy, like him. Get with the program. Get with the program. Folks, email.citizensallianceidaho.org/Anthon. Send him an email. Tell him to step up to the plate, get these bills rerouted, or replace Guthrie. I don't care. I don't care how it's done. Procedure, tradition, blah, 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 blah. That's what got us into this mess. Isn't that right, Brian? Procedure and tradition. Oh, it's been a tradition that we don't verify illegals. We just take their paperwork at face value. That's tradition, right, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, as we went over last week, it's been the law of the land ever since 1986, President Reagan's Immigration and Control Act, that you're not allowed to hire illegal aliens. It is against the law. You have to have authorization to work here or be a citizen. But for a long time, businesses, especially in certain industries like agriculture, have just been winking at that, saying, yeah, well, we'll take their paperwork, which is probably fraudulent. We won't check it. We don't want to do that. You want us to check it? No. We can't do that. That would destroy our workforce. And yeah, on the Senate side, it's the same thing. I don't know if it was mentioned during your talk with Michael. House Bill 659, the one requiring the 287G agreements, or an explanation as to why they can't do it. It was read across the desk just a few minutes ago and is in Senate State Affairs. So no matter where they come from, they're being routed through this one committee where you have a hatchet man who is willing to take the slings and arrows. We're told that he's been getting his phone calls flooded with calls to hear these bills, and he doesn't care.
Yep. He doesn't care, folks. He doesn't care. This is his world. This is Guthrie's world, folks. Isn't this the same guy that got caught with some sort of sex toy and cheating on his wife? Did that happen too? I mean, look, guys. This guy's messing with our livelihoods. This guy's messing with. We had William Mostoller on here talking about just one anecdotal story. I'm appalled. I'm appalled that people keep electing this Yahoo. This is it. The gloves are off. He's now in charge of this 287G. We just heard all about it. This would empower the sheriffs and the police to work with the feds on apprehending criminal illegal aliens. Brian, I'm losing it, man. I'm losing it.
It's incredibly frustrating. And yeah, that's why I say I think the best thing to happen to the Senate would be for Mr. Worley to win his race and announce this guy. And as we've seen in the past, like you just said, it's not without precedent. Just because you're a committee chair, just because you're the pro tem, does not mean you are invulnerable. And if we get the right message out, if enough people see what's going on, do the voters of District 28 really like this? Do they like their guy acting like a dictator with more power than the governor? If the governor vetoes a bill, the Senate and the House can override it. There are ways to actually pull a bill out of committee, but again, tradition, people don't want to go there. So he can effectively stop legislation. Even if 60 members, even if 70 people, the entire House were to pass something, a committee chair could just throw it in his drawer and just not schedule a hearing. So,
and maybe he's protecting. Maybe he's protecting the governor. Maybe the governor has a lot of pressure to not make this thing happen in Idaho, and the governor is in good favor with President Trump right now. And if he were to veto this kind of bill, what kind of message would that send to the Trump administration? What kind of message would that send to the rest of Idaho? There's all sorts of different political games and chess pieces that are out there that are playing afoot, and sometimes it's hard to tell who's the queen, who's the king, who are the bishops, and who are the pawns. But we all know that none of us have a piece on the board at all. And it's time that somebody just uprights the table.
Yeah, you mentioned the political games, and that's exactly what happens. You have chairs who will hold bills in their drawers so that their members don't have to go on record voting against them, because that would look bad to their constituents. So, again, that's why I say Senator Guthrie is happy to play the role of hatchet man and take the slings and arrows. Who is he protecting? Protecting other people on Senate State Affairs, protecting other people in the Senate, protecting the pro tem, protecting the governor from having to sign the bill. But also, you wonder how many people on the House side they actually voted for 704 and 700. Having been given assurances, don't worry, this won't go. You can go to your constituents and say, yeah, I supported this tough immigration enforcement, and the Senate just wouldn't do it. So, right. Sorry, bummer.
Yep. Yep. And I'm also wondering here if it's like, what is the incentive? Like we look at Congress and we understand that the incentive in Congress to keep going back there for many folks is the fact that, insider trading, right? The Nancy Pelosi effect where you get rich. I mean, I don't know a single, well, maybe there's a couple like, what was his name? Matt Gaetz or somebody who went there and never took any PAC money, never got rich or whatever off of being in office. Something like, you don't need to fact check me on that. I'm just trying to get to the major point, which is most people, when they go to Congress, they like keeping going back because it's a full-time job. They're getting paid over six figures. They get the prestige and they get the ability to maximize their own investments all over the place. And they somehow leave Congress millionaires, absolute millionaires. What is the incentive inside a part-time legislature where you're getting paid $20,000 to go sit and deal with this stuff for 3 months? What's the incentive? Is it just power? Why do you want it? Why do you hold these bills and protect people from having to have their vote on record? What's the incentive of keep going back there? I mean, most of the good folks I know don't want to keep coming back there, but they feel like they're compelled to. They have to. Most people that I know that are running, that have run in the last 4 years, have said, like, I've never wanted to do this. This isn't something I was looking to do. I just felt like no one else could stop the madness.
Well, I can't speak for anybody in there. I'm on the outside, so it looks foreign to me why you would keep coming in for, be a glutton for punishment if you're not getting some compensation. Now it's possible, when you think about the different people in there, that they see themselves as fighting the good fight, fighting against those extremists who want us to enforce the law and get rid of all our agricultural workers who are not here legally. We got to stop them. Otherwise, it's going to destroy the whole state. And I'm proud to stand up and do that. Maybe that's just the case. They see themselves as being on the right side of history. They're one of the good guys fighting against the bad guys.
All right. Well, I'm just I'm just appalled again now by this 287 bill. What was the bill number on that one again?
659.
659. So there you hear it, folks. Brian just said it. House Bill 659 is now also in the Senate State Affairs Committee. Maybe we should have just redone this call to action about these two bills. It's all the immigration bills, folks. It's all the immigration bills. We have one that what the fake E-Verify bill, that one is still alive technically, right? It's on
that one. That one passed the House, Senate, didn't it? And now it's waiting for a House committee.
Yeah, which it may or may not get a hearing over there, but maybe they'll pass it maybe they'll give it a hearing knowing that it'll be the only thing that comes out of it. But the rest of these bills, they won't even let us count how many illegals are in the hospitals or in the schools. They don't even want that.
Yeah. They say it's not happening, and then they say it's happening and it's a good thing, and then they say you're not allowed to question or criticize it. The worst part about it is that there was a bill last year to create a state-level crime for illegal reentry, and I thought it was fine. It's adding maybe another layer of immigration law enforcement. It was fairly non-controversial. I mean, the Democrats debated against it, I think. But now you have these candidates, the Guthries and Mickelsons of the world, who are going out and sending out text messages to their voters saying, this, Senator Jim Guthrie, Representative Stephanie Mickelson stood up for immigration enforcement to stop the flow of illegals and fentanyl and, enforce the law because they voted for this one bill. And of course, that's how it works. They vote for the really weak bill. I mean, if this bad E-Verify bill, the one that only applies to, a small handful of companies that are already doing that anyway, if that were to pass, then, they're going to go to their constituents and say, I did E-Verify. I got it done.
Yeah, which brings up a great point that we need to get into here, Brian, which is how these people are voting. Let's bring up the first graphic here on House Bill 704 and House Bill 701. These are 700. These are the folks that voted for and against E-Verify, and then the other bill 700 being penalizing people for knowingly hiring illegals. The crossover here is interesting because you had more people who voted against punishing employers for hiring illegal aliens. They voted for the E-Verify Act, but then they voted against punishing anybody for knowingly hiring. What's this about, Brian?
Again, I can't speak for anybody, and it makes me wonder how many people voted for one or both of those bills, knowing that it was going to get killed on the Senate side, thrown into the drawer, and they'd have cover to do that. Because I see those bills as working in tandem. If we're going to say we're going to punish you for knowingly hiring illegals, then the law needs a way for those people to verify that, and that's where the e-verify comes in. And 700 even specifically says if you do e-verify, then you're held harmless if as long as you do your due diligence. So it's really strange to do one or the other, and obviously even punishing employers for knowingly hiring illegals is tough if there's no way for them to know. If they present fraudulent documentation, then that's the whole point of e-verify. So, I don't see how somebody votes for one and not the other, because they really work hand in hand to, shut off this magnet that's attracting illegal aliens to come work here.
Exactly. So then let's show the next graphic here where we kind of isolate those votes. There's 7 people, 7 representatives who voted for mandatory e-verify, but then voted against holding employers accountable for hiring illegals. Those folks are Jeff Cornels, District 12, Sean Digert, District 23. It still says Don Hall, but Don Hall has a replacement. Is it Grayson Stone?
Stone, yeah.
Stone. Grayson Stone out of Twin Falls. And then Pohanka out of, what is that, District 28?
26.
District 26. Sauter, District 1, Mark Sauter in District 1. Representative Veely out of District 35, and Representative Wheeler also out of 35. Those 7 individuals voted, again, they voted for e-verify. They're like, oh, we don't want to get caught not voting for e-verify, but now you got caught saying you don't want to hold employers accountable. It's like it's almost worse.
Yeah, it doesn't make much sense. I'm thinking of each of those districts that those people come from. Representative Sauter from District 1 doesn't make much sense. I don't think there's much illegal labor going on up in North Idaho. You can correct me if I'm wrong there. And then the others outside of Representative Cornelius, who's from Nampa. Obviously Nampa does have a large Hispanic population, so maybe there's some considerations there. But the others outside of that are all from rural districts where agriculture is very, very big, and those big ag lobbyists have a lot of power.
Yeah, obviously. Obviously. All right, folks. Well, that's fascinating. We'll post these graphics up on X and stuff just so that people can, refresh their memory and know who's voting for and against these things. And you got to hold them accountable. I mean, it's an election year, folks. It's an election year. And I can't stress this enough. Like, elections, voting has consequences. All of this stuff should have consequences. And for some reason, some of these diehard, they won't back down establishment folks aren't getting the message. We are coming after your seat. Folks, I'm going to Brian, I'm going to tout Citizens Alliance of Idaho here for a little bit, because when we first started out back in 21, we asked every single member of the legislature to sign the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge, right? We got 18 folks that first session that we were around in 2022, that session, to sign. So they signed it. And now we're at 42. And that doesn't happen by accident, because most of the current 42 are people who were elected in the elections of 2022 and the elections of 2024. Do you see what I'm getting at, folks? If you're not voting the right way, we will come for your seat. We will come for your seat. That is the whole point of what we do at our organization. And I thank you for supporting. I want to also let you know that the PAC has troops on the ground right now in East Idaho knocking doors, because we are coming for your seat.
Yeah, I really love your formulation of give me your vote or give me your seat, because it's, it really appeals to my the pragmatism that I've developed over the past few years. I think people get too attached to keep making people out to be heroes or villains. And I think that skews the way you see things. absolutely do as much as you can with the people who are in office now.
Yes.
Be pragmatic about that. We're not going to, it's not likely that somebody's going to oust the governor. The pro tem and the speaker, whether you like them or not, they don't have primary opponents, so they're coming back next year. So work with people as much as you can, but then if they start, if they continue to vote against what you're doing or your priorities, then yeah, do everything you can to oust them, or at the very least marginalize them. That's what really changed with the legislature in 2024 is that enough conservatives were elected that it shifted the center of gravity, and we got a lot of good things last year. Well, now they're empire striking back, as they say this year. They're trying to block as many good things as they can. So that's great going into the election. Okay, we now we know who we need to target.
Yes. Yep. That's exactly it. All right, Brian, we were paying attention to some of the stuff on the floor. I see the guys have clipped a couple of bills. Should we get people up to speed here? Guys, what do you got up there? I see a few tallies. What can we report to the good folks out there on? No, you don't have something? What's this? What is this? Oh, that was 700 and 704. Just the full screen. Okay. Sorry guys, I thought we had something. We did have some bills going through the floor and the Senate today. And I don't remember what they were now, but that's okay. We're focused on this. That's all right. All right, Brian. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we let the people know what you're working on? I know you unveiled the primary pulse again. We'll tell people about that and how we can follow you.
Yeah, at gemstatechronicle.com. I do have a new article up about Boise State University's presidential search, so go check that out. But yeah, the primary pulse is it's back. I did it in 2024. I've redone it a bit, so you can see all Republican primary candidates all on one page. You can click on each district and get a zoomed-in view of their pictures with links to their sunshine reports and Google News links and their own websites, see their contact info, so that you can ask some questions and decide not only who you want to vote for if they're in your district, but also who is your priority to help. Who do you want to go knock doors for? Who do you want to go donate money to? I'll bring it up again. David Worley is running against Senator Jim Guthrie. That would be a huge sea change if he managed to oust the Senate State Affairs chairman. So he can use all the money he can get, and maybe that's your priority. If it's one of mine.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely one of my priorities too, Brian. All right, guys. Brian, thanks again, brother. We'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see how this continues to roll. Appreciate it, folks. There's a lot of people out there that don't know what time it is. They don't know what time it is, and we unveiled a song over on X. It's on our YouTube channel as well, called "They Don't Know What Time It Is." It's playing in the background right now. It's a long tune because it covers a lot of different things. And I encourage you, go check it out. It's a little bit of a passion project of mine, and it was super fun to do and have fun with. It's totally, and the music video is completely AI. It's all AI. No, I make no bones about it, or I'm not shamed about it. It's a fun tool, great for this kind of thing. So I encourage you to go check it out. Okay, folks, let's do this. Give us a call. 208-402-4915. 208-402-4915 is the number to dial. Leave your message. Put it in the context of a nice 30 to 60 seconds would be nice. Your name, your town that you're calling from, and we'll play it on the air. I think I got one or two voicemails in the queue that we hopefully we can get to this week, and we'll put it on the air and give it to you. We finally crossed 8,000. Whoo, yeah, 8,000 subscribers over at the YouTube channel, and we thank all of you for watching live. We thank you for watching the archive, and if you do watch the archive, there's the vertical version. There's the traditional widescreen version over there on YouTube. So thanks to them for figuring all that out. We don't have to do anything. We just broadcast and they take care of it. But anyway, head over there. We clip out all the different interviews. We've got shorts. Just spread that stuff out there as far and wide as you can, folks. The more people we can get eyeballs on this program. You see the great guests that we have. I mean, we do this all so that we can make a positive effect on Idaho. And if you're out there and you just need to use low data, you don't want to use up all your data on your phone plan, IdahoSignal.live streams the show audio only on a loop 24/7 until the next program. So head over there and do that. We will see you tomorrow for the Tuesday program, and hopefully things start turning around this week. We really need to put the pressure on all of this. There's some other bills too that we need to apply some pressure. The teachers union bill Folks, I don't know if you heard this, but the teachers union bill is now stuck in the Senate, not the State Affairs Committee. It's stuck in another committee. So we'll have more on that tomorrow and the rest of the week, so stay with us. We'll see you next time.
And the night runs deep. The libertarians holler about leaving it be. County government ghosts in charge we see. Neocon hawks with their wars overseas. Progressive old guard on their bended knees. But the culture's a gray guard, the church is gone cold. Pagan winds howled and story done told. You abolish your principles, shining in need, while the republic crumbles under our feet. Your toughest a warning from the online wire. Heritage Stoller took us holy fire. Ace in the hole, stay in charge or you die. Flight 93 rushing across the blood-red sky. Come on, playing dice and let's make the game. The left's in insurrection, name in your name. Big moves up Dario, that's the star choice. But you fiddle in silence, ignoring the voice. Oh, they don't know what time it is. The hands on the clock are spinning wild and free. Midnight's knocking, the wolves at the gate. Shadows dancing in the fight I take. Wake up, you dreamless, from your slumbers so deep. They don't know what time it is, and the night burns deep. So blow your horns out in the gathering storm.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.